Morning, and welcome to Sunday School Snapshot. This morning we are doing our contemporary conversation instead of next Sunday. It's Men's Day, and we want to put our men on a panel and talk about why fathers matter. And so this morning, we are here at the First Shiloh Baptist Church, located at 8150 Walnut Grove Road in Mechanicsville, Virginia. Our pastor is the Reverend Dr. Proctor N. Beard. And happy Father's Day to all fathers. So this morning, we will be talking about why fathers matter. And fathers, I have talked to a lot of my friends that are school teachers, and they tell me how they spend 15 minutes just trying to control behaviors of the children before they can even teach. So I want to know, how can a father's discipline and boundaries help children develop self-control and reduce impulsive behaviors in our school system?
Well, the question is, how do we develop, or how do we help our young people develop good social skills? Was that what you were referring to, Reverend Larry?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, you've got to be respectful of yourself
Mhm.
to get young people to listen to you. And if you do that, that's number one. And then we have to show our young people by what we do. We need to show, and I'm talking mainly about our children and our grandchildren because they're in our household. But we need to show them rather than tell them. We need to tell them also, but we need to show them what we're doing. And if you're dealing with somebody else's kid, like you're in a classroom or something like that, you still have to discipline kids, but not physical, rough discipline. I don't think that works. I don't think it works. And my kids, we would take something from them. You got to give up something. If you're doing something that's not right, then you have to give up something. And that's the way we kind of discipline for the most part. It's not said that I didn't spank my kids every now and then, but, for the most part, talking to them and being respectful to them, taking away something that they really like. Now you can take away some of the, technical stuff and but I think that's what we need to do to show the kids as well as tell them. You got to show them what you want them to do.
Um, I agree with you, brother Charles. But and I think it starts at an early age. Um, you can't have kids just little toddlers, tots, running around ruling the house and stuff. You have to start the discipline at an early age. But when you discipline them, you have to explain to them why you doing this, and understand the reasons behind their behaviors. Understand that they are kids and they don't know, they don't understand. So you have to explain everything to them. When my boys were kids and stuff, and they came up at the start of the internet, social media,
Mhm.
video game generation. Um, of course, we spoiled them and we bought all this stuff for them and stuff. But I would sit down and play the games with them. I sit down and watch some of the videos they like to watch on TV, MTV videos and stuff. And I explain the stuff, the games y'all playing, this stuff is not real. They had uh, um, Mortal Kombat, the fighting games, and Black Ops, the shooting games and stuff. I had to let them know this is not the real world. You go out here and do this stuff, there's going to be consequences. Um, and let them understand that lifestyle they see on MVTV, that's not real. Them guys, and, most of that stuff they rent, they buying, they paying. Excuse me, they paying these women and everything. It's not real. What's the real world is when me and your mama get up every morning and go to work, so that you can watch these things. And as far as the discipline part, um, I agree with you. No, no child abuse. You don't beat up your kid. But you know, a little spanking never hurt anybody. Get their attention. You know,
Absolutely.
I know we like to use spitterize spoil a child. I like to use I can't remember which one it is, but it says foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction will take it away from them. We grew up with spanking for correction. We went to school and the teachers had the little yardstick or the little rulers. By the time we got to junior high school, the coaches and shop teachers had the paddles. And they tell you been over, grab them ankles and whack them, you know. And I honestly don't believe that it hurt anybody, you know.
Okay. Now, are children with involved fathers more likely to do well in school?
Yeah, I would say so. Um,
Okay.
was that question for?
The answer is
okay.
absolutely.
Come on.
The answer to that question is absolutely. Having had an opportunity to be a career person in education, I've seen every aspect of the power of parents. The caregivers, oftentimes it may not be the parent, but whoever the caregiver is, who thinks a lot of themselves as well as their children, it makes a difference.
Any, would you like to expand on that?
My parents had a 10th grade and 8th grade education. But when it came to us in school and stuff, I mean, they were all on us as far as number one, getting up in the morning and getting yourself dressed and getting out and going to school on time. And that was mama and daddy thing. And when it came to grades, you know, they scrutinized you. Report cards from the grade, letter grade to the comments. Because, you know, back then they used to do comments. And the comments better be as good as the grades, you know. My daddy did not tolerate any I'm gonna say lackadaisical type attitude towards school and stuff, you know. We were expected to do A's and B's, you know. Some C might get you a little frown, you know, but education was key because they only had that 8th and 10th grade education.
Yeah, my parents did the same thing. I mean, they were, I think both of them went to the 7th grade or something like that, but they were really push us to do more than that. And they were, I mean, they were physical sometimes, but I mean, you know, not abusive. My parents were never abusive, but they would jump on that belt in a heartbeat and they would do that. It didn't do me any harm. I don't think it did me any harm at all, you know. And so, but they know what the limits in that was. And that's why I appreciate them for what they did and how they had us all pointed in the same direction. Yeah, I've had to do that too. Yeah.
And bring a good one too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fathers, how can a father's involvement reduce the likelihood of substance abuse, delinquency, and early sexual activity.
Mm. Mm.
You know, fathers, we play a
Say-
very
say that-
important
say-
part in our
Yeah.
children's
Say,
life.
say that one more time.
Yeah. Break that one down in two parts.
Yeah.
How can a father's involvement reduce the likelihood of substance abuse, delinquency, and early sexual activity?
Well, you know, just speaking from just in general, fathers need to be involved with the children. Sometimes the fathers, we leave that leave everything to the wife, but that's not the way it should be. Fathers need to be involved with the children, and involved meaning what we've been talking about schooling, whatever sports they play or wanted to play, you get involved in that. You take them to sports games. You teach them whatever you can teach them about whatever sport that you like are involved in. And so just being involved, that in itself shows that you care, you love them. And it's not all about what you bought them, or, you know, this kind of thing. That shows that you love them and that you care, and you're trying to set an example for them. I think that's really important, setting an example for your kids. But I think, not being specific to your question, I think just being involved with your kids help. It's got to help. Yeah.
Y'all have heard me say before that I was the last of 8 children, and I taught my dad how to read and write his name for the first time. But he was, without fail, the most powerful man that I've ever known except Jesus Christ in regards to expectations and accountability. He couldn't read about it, but he saw and knew what he was looking at, and he knew what the expectations were. And it didn't take many times that he didn't have to come back a second time. You didn't want him to come back a second time about the same thing that he's disciplining you for.
Well, first thing I want to say, with some kids, it doesn't matter that parental involvement. Not picking on you, Robin, but I grew up with a couple of preacher kids, and they were some of the worst around. Lord have mercy. And I just said that to say that it's not always your involvement with your kids. You can love them, you can teach them, you can discipline them, and everything. But once they get out there in the world and stuff, then they kind of go haywire or something. So I think to kind of alleviate that somewhat, you do have to be involved in their lives, but that means you have to know their friends. You have to know who they're hanging around with. You have to know the places that they're hanging around with, and warn them and teach them from your own experience and knowledge of life, how they should conduct themselves once they leave the house. One of the things my parents always, mom and dad both, when you leave out this house, you better act like you got some home training, you know. So it's important that if you're in your child's life, that you teach them all phases of life, how to carry themselves once they're outside of the home, where you can't really protect them anymore.
Now, fathers, we kind of danced around the area of early sexual activity. And we know that teen pregnancy is very high within, especially the African American community. And so what would you say to a young man or young woman about this sexual activity thing? What kind of advice would you give even your own son or daughter? What kind of advice would you give them when it comes to being active sexually actively at an early age?
I would start off by saying the parent must teach their children and give them all of the details about sexual activity. Do not hold back on any of it. You tell them what it is, what it's about. You have them to read about it with the expectations of what they're learning in there, that they follow those guidelines, and you do the best you can to hold them accountable, but give them the rules of the law, the rules of the land as it relates to pregnancy, becoming a mother or father at a very early age, and unfortunately, and well, I guess fortunately as well, I work with a lot of children in Richmond Public Schools who have had real challenges in their families with 6 or 7 children, and all of those children have been sexually involved at an early age, and it continues from one generation to the next one. I've had 3 generations, and there were children out of wedlock for all 3 of those generations. And so it was difficult to teach what you don't do. Teach someone about right and you're doing wrong. And so that's a challenge with that. That's tough. It's hard to change it. And we've seen some improvement over time, but it's small. It's small improvement in certain areas, particularly.
We're in the social media age, and so kids, they really are bombarded with sexuality and sexual type things everywhere they go. So the thing is you can't cut them off from this. They're going to see things. They're going to hear things. They're going to be around their friends and stuff. So once again, I think it's important that you know what your kids are watching and what they're listening to, what they're hearing, what they're taking in. You have to be aware of what's going on with, and not only that, with their friends. Most of the time growing up, and once I got married and had kids, my house has kind of been a little hub, where all the kids like to come and stuff. And so I talk to my kids and their friends the same way and let them know that this is right, this is wrong, this is tolerated. Or you can go out here and do whatever you want, but there are going to be consequences. You have to always let the kids know that there's consequences for everything you do. We're living in an entitled society, and kids and grown-ups think they can get away with anything. And so not only do you have to talk to them, teach them what they're watching, you have to act accordingly your own self. Mama can't have uncle this and that coming in every other weekend. Your daddy can't be just bringing all kinds of women and talking to women. It's important how you talk to women. Kids, especially boys, need to see how you talk to their mother and treat their mother. And all that goes towards the sexuality. Hormones is raising, and kids gonna get out there and do what they're gonna do. The best thing you can do is, like Dr. Hawkins said, educate them about the possible consequences.
Okay.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing, when I listened to music and I was coming up, I mean, the music was decent. Now, they say anything in a song, anything. And so you try to keep your children, grandchildren, and all away from these things, but you can't can't keep them away from all of it. So that's why it's important as men that we talk to our children, we talk to other folks' children, we talk to our nieces and nephews, whatever. We need to talk to them so that we can counter some of those things that they hear. Not only do they hear it in some of the songs, and just some of the songs are just absolutely, truly amazing, but in watching TV, you've got to cut some of the stuff off in the TV. So kids don't like it, but we've got to show them that we're doing it for their benefit and that it's going to help down the line. It really come back, because I know some of the things that my parents told me or did. I thought it was terrible, how could they do this to me, but I saw after I was grown, was growing up, I looked back and said, they were right. And so sometimes we don't want to say something or do something to our children, but we got to do it, because I'm hoping that down the line, they will look back and say, thanks, Dad, or thanks, Mom, or whatever.
And we have a tremendous communication. That cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
3-year-olds, 2-year-olds can go on that cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
and they can find
Mm-hmm.
any and everything that they want to find.
Yeah.
They may not know, well, depending on the age, they do know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what they are
Mhm.
looking at, whether they can read or not.
Mm-hmm.
They understand what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they will absolutely, as
Yeah.
we did, imitate as much as they can what they see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And here.
And Deacon, when you said that about they say any and everything on these songs now, but when we were coming up, we had to figure out what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Ring My Bell?
Yeah.
We know what Ring My Bell meant, but but it's just, like you said, the wording of these songs sometimes can get our children in trouble. But now I'm going to move on to some more advanced questions. And fathers, how does the absence of a father figure impact a child's well-being and life choices?
Mm.
I can go quickly on that one,
Quickly.
simply because my experience in education for over 40 years, I have seen just about everything you can see with children who don't have both parents in the home, or who don't have either one of the parents in the home, and grandmother has them, and they become involved with every level that their eyes and ears can see and hear. And as a result, they follow the pattern of what they see, oftentimes knowing it could be wrong, but it's inviting because that peer pressure is out there. All of us have had some peer pressure in one way or the other, and they all have a tendency to go along with what they think is popular, and be a part of the group, be a part of whatever that environment is that they endorse themselves in.
And I think also, some of the kids who don't have the father in the house, and they see other kids with the father in the house, and that's some anger there. That's definitely some anger there. And if it's some anger and discomfort in our young people, it will cause them to go somewhere else and do something that they should not do. And so it's important that that the father is in the house. That's really important. Now, I know people have all kinds of circumstances and whatever, but that's where our fathers need to be. That's where you need to be, and we need to make sure that we are there, regardless of what the situation is. We are there for that, and it's not just being in the house, but being with your young people, that boy or the girl.
And if the father's not there, a powerful mama.
Yeah, powerful mom.
Powerful mom.
And
Yeah.
grandma. And grandma.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because through the years, there have been a lot of great women who have raised some great kids all by themselves. But having a strong father in the house can change that dynamic, because a lot of times kids, even though they've been raised by a great mama, they might have some kind of underlying insecurity issues, far as men in their life, resentment maybe towards mamas or whatever, or jealousy feelings, like you said, towards their friends whose parents are there. And at the same time, if you are a father in a house, you have to be a good father, because sometimes you have a bad father in the house, and that's an influence on the child as well. So sometimes it might be better not to have that man up in the house, you know. And it's a fine line. Being a father of 3 kids, you know, especially being young fathers. You want to experience life as well.